time to talk antiques on Thunder Radio. I'm not Howard. Again, I have to disappoint everybody, but I'm not Howard today, but I'm in for Let's Talk Antiques. The good news is I have all the antiques experts in studio with me, so I don't have to talk a whole lot. David Pennington in the house. What's up, David?
Oh, not much. What's going on?
Buddy, I'm here to learn. Last time I sat in on this, my goal is to not mess anything up, but I also got to learn a lot, so I'm pretty excited to sit in again and try to learn some things.
You know what I told you? Welcome to the real world now. You're
the real world now. He acts like I'm 18 or something, just out of school.
No, not that part.
Yeah.
About being in full ownership of something, your own business.
For sure.
Not only when you own your business, you have to be the maintenance man. You have to be everything.
True that.
And you're doing it, right?
I'm trying my best anyway.
You're doing a good job.
I get to take out the garbage later if you
You're
want to hang out and see how
doing a
that
good
goes. And it's garbage day here.
Yeah.
It runs on Wednesday night, so the inner workings, if you will, of the radio station is not so thrilling.
I think you've got your feet on the ground. You're going to be fine.
After you fill in for a couple of shows here, just to let you know that on a pretty steady basis, about once a week now, somebody comes up to me asking me what something's worth that they have.
Really?
So just to let you know that'll be coming. I can imagine what David's phone probably doesn't stop ringing.
I can't wait till they come up and ask me what something's worth. I'm just going to make up a number.
There you go.
Well, hey.
That's worth about $7,000 right there. You better come get rid of it.
Hold your ground when you say it.
Well, no, they want you to buy it at that value. Is the only thing.
Well, then I can value some
it's
things.
Worth $10.
It's worth $10.
That's my.
For my luck, I'd say that, and it would be worth like $2, and I was still out $8. You know.
Well, matter of fact, who's the gentleman that I got this long text.
Jeff over at the Manchester Tullahoma Animal Shelter. They have had a guitar donated to them for their Bark in the Park fundraiser. That is a lady who worked at Columbia Records in Nashville. She retired, and they gave her this acoustic guitar, and it's got her name with a little plaque on it, and everybody from 2004 who was an artist at Nashville with Columbia Records at the time signed it. It's got Trace Adkins, Garth Brooks.
Oh my goodness! What's that worth?
Well,
a whole bunch of people.
Ask that question.
Yeah, that was what he brought it to me yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, on my opinion side of it, it's got a lot of signatures on it, but a lot of them, are people really that.
A majority of them aren't famous people.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to say that.
With a few that Garth Brooks alone is going to be worth some cash.
With the ones alone, I think the thing's worth between $1,000 and $1,500.
Oh.
So that's still pretty good.
Yeah, they were wanting a general idea so that they could put a minimum.
Well, I think
bid
what they
on
is wanting, according to the text I got, he never really asked me the value, but I went on and told him my opinion on it.
Yeah.
But he's wanting to authenticate it.
Oh.
To authenticate it would take a while. You'd have to send it to PSA or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Which would take a while because you'd actually have to ship that guitar.
Yeah, and Bark in the Park is like 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
if you want to get something authenticated, I'm just curious. I mean, how does that work? I guess it's going to cost you money to ship it, and do the authenticators, I'm assuming, charge you to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it better be worth quite a bit.
Yeah, that's right.
To go down that road.
You got two really good companies that authenticate. Beckett, you've heard of Beckett, and PSA. Sports Performance Group, they do it, and they're the ones that everybody looks at. These $1 million cards, $800,000 Mickey Mantle rookies or whatever. PSA most of the time. If you ever pull up any of those old baseball cards, or mostly cards, and then comic books, there's somebody else that does it. And action figures, somebody does it.
I'd be scared to ship it. I'd want to drive it and hand deliver it. I'd be too scared to put it in.
Well, if you had $1 million piece, I believe that's what I'd do with it too. If you had $1 million piece, I'm sure you could afford to drive it.
Yeah, I think I could.
What do you think, Emmett? By the way, we got Emmett Wright with us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he's going to tell us about what we are going to talk about today is Granny, which is Manchester's first fire truck. Is that right?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. And you got all kind of knowledge, right?
I got some, yes, sir.
Can I start with the simple question of how did Granny get the name?
No, you cannot.
I can't.
And I'll tell you why. Because you got to do your little headline.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're listening to us live on WMSR right now. You can catch us on the television replay at Charter Channel 193 and LightTube Channel 6. Or you can watch us anytime on Facebook or YouTube. All you got to do is search for Let's Talk Antiques and we come up. And after you watch us, please like, share, comment, repeat.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about all the TV stuff. I've got a face for radio. That's why I got into radio. But I'm glad my back is to the camera.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
And by the way,
I wouldn't do it if it was the other way
Howard
around.
wants to move the camera the other way around, so
No,
you see
I'm,
there's that.
I'm opposite.
Josh, don't you think he should have said 107.9?
Yeah, we're on
And what's the one in Tullahoma?
106.7 in
There
Tullahoma.
we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
He always forgets those two.
107.9 in Manchester.
And by the way, you're not much over 18, are you, Josh?
Oh, a little bit. I'm aging. I'm getting up there.
Okay, so
I'm not double that though.
Okay.
Not yet.
So, how much time we got before we got to have a break?
You got about 10 minutes.
Okay, so go ahead, Philip. You can ask him his question, but we're just gonna. And Josh, you jump in here too. We're gonna quiz him to see how much he knows about Granny.
How did the old fire truck Granny get the name?
That was the name that she had when I started in the early 80s as a full-time fireman, and I'm going to assume it's because she was the old fire truck, the original fire truck, and she'd been around for years, so that was the nickname that she was given.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't because she went slow. I thought maybe it's because it went real slow.
Well, that's probably too
Yeah.
clear. I mean, Josh, that's probably true.
No
also.
offense to the grannies out there.
Yeah. Well, but think about her. She's granny to about 11,000 people. And of course, the reason Emmett's here today is not only to tell us about Granny, but you know, my family's had Granny for about 20 years. And Emmett ain't like that from the day that I got it.
Didn't like that.
But anyway, at one time they was deciding to get rid of it, and so I ended up with it. And so she's been at my house for 20 years, and what we're going to do here, and it's really, we've been waiting on paperwork for about a month. As soon as the city gets the paperwork done, we're going to donate Granny back.
Nice.
My family is, you know, and when I do donate her back, she's going to have a nice home like she's had for 20 years, and climate control, and right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're excited about getting her back.
Yeah.
And what's the plan with the truck once you get it back? What do you is it just going to sit there, or is it going to be on display, or what are we
Yeah.
doing?
Well, it'll be on display.
Yeah.
We're going to put it back into working order where we can take it places and
Okay.
and put it back in the Old Timers Day and visit the schools and use it as a good promotional piece for the fire department.
Well, and if you notice, Josh, you was in a newspaper business at one time.
I
And you
was.
had other papers in other towns, and if you ever visited those towns, most the other towns have the original or some type of old fire truck. Now, like Tullahoma, I think it's a 36 Dodge, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And
C36.
what's Winchester's?
I'm not sure what Winchester.
You know what
is.
Chevyville's is?
No, sir.
I don't neither, but most fire departments take pride in having something, especially something like Granny that's been there all her life.
Yes, sir.
And you don't know if they bought her new or if she was used, right?
No, sir, I don't. All I know is it's the first original gasoline-powered fire truck that the city had.
And what, I don't think we said what year.
29.
29.
1929 American LaFrance, and it originally had a GMC running gear, but you said it's got an Oldsmobile motor?
It now has I was told that I believe in the 40s there the old engine finally got to the point that the compression wouldn't allow it to start, and I was told that they kept a rope tied to the front of the truck, and at that time it was a volunteer fire department, and the first volunteer would back his car up to it and tie the rope to it, and the second volunteer got in behind to get it started, and they'd pull it off and start it, and then they'd leave for the fire. But it's got, I believe, an Oldsmobile engine was put in it and that's what's in it today.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind, like he said, it was the very first gasoline-powered fire truck you had, but then you had, then they got, after hers, they got a 48,
Yeah,
right?
I had a 48 Chevrolet, and then in the early 60s they bought a GMC. So
Yeah. Here's a look. Here's a
Hit
little.
the microphone then.
Well, I'm not used. I'm used to sitting in the middle, and this guard here.
Well, move it.
All right, I'll do
Move it out.
it.
Make all kind of racket. Move it out of the way.
How about that?
There.
We good? Make a little more racket.
Yeah, make some more noise.
Okay. So the fire truck has got a lot of history, and Emmett's going to tell us some stories about it. And aren't you, Emmett?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, my first recollection of Granny was as a young child, and watched it in Old Timers Day, and periodically they'd bring it to school for Fire Prevention Week and so forth. And then after I got hired on, it always made it to all the different fall festivals at the different schools, and again in the parade and for special events. And the truck there was stayed there at the fire hall. We would show it off to children and stuff when they came by.
Well, the fun thing I remember as a child, I was raised up in Tullahoma, but going to the fire hall, of course, they had the old fire truck stuff there, but climbing that pole and sliding down. So everybody has their own memory about when you're a child about going to the fire department. Philip, did you ever go?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Josh?
Yeah, we did the volunteer fire departments. I went to New Union, so we always stopped by over there. And we went over in 4th grade, and
Anything particular you remember that really stuck with you?
I passed out.
Oh, well, I guess that was stick.
Smacked the floor. Really not sure what happened. It's one of those leg locking kind of things. I don't know, but
You wasn't in shock by seeing a fire truck.
I don't know what it was, but I do remember that. I got to go home. I was like, I don't know what happened, but no. I always at that age, just seeing those big red trucks is the coolest thing, right?
Yes.
They're massive to you at that age. You forget how big things look.
Yeah.
When you're that little.
Yeah, like sidewalks is a good example, or steps. Today if you see a building with 4 or 5 steps, you don't think much about it. But when you're a little kid,
There you go.
same with that fire truck. Granny was a great big fire truck, wasn't she?
Yes, sir, it was.
Yeah.
Even though it's of course it's an open cab fire truck on a very small chassis compared to fire trucks today. But that was a standard for the day. That's what they had to build fire trucks out of, and that's what they did. I've been told that the truck made it out of town on a couple of big fires at other cities. One story was that the Rod Ballard, who was our assistant chief, his father was one of the early volunteers for the city of Manchester, and they took it to McMinnville in the wintertime during a winter storm, and for a fire up on the square up in McMinnville. And can you imagine being in an open cab truck with it snowing and below zero, or not zero, but below freezing weather?
Well, it's snowing.
Driving the truck to all the way to McMinnville.
I was going to bring that up when you said it was open cab. I'm like, it makes for a chilly ride, doesn't it?
Yeah. It really is. That same fire truck, that same design is what Buddy L made all his old toys in the 20s. They look just like that fire truck. Matter of fact, I got toys that matched the fire truck. It's kind of cool, But I'll tell you something else about that fire truck that I noticed. It has a great big hose, like where you could actually put that hose in a pond, and it's got a filter on it so that you don't get all the trash. So they could actually
draft. Yeah, it's called drafting, and
they must not have had a fire hydrants everywhere.
And didn't have fire hydrants, so that's what you had to do is find a source of water, and draw it up into the pump. Mm-hmm. And it stretches all the way around the front of the truck. Had to be very long so that you could reach over and it could deep enough into water that it could pull a draft.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Hey, I remember in the 60s too, where the railroad viaduct is, that was about the city limits at the time. So Granny didn't have a lot to do. Yeah. But except when she was called for backup and stuff, which I guess all fire departments do that.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. On major fires.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember in Tullahoma when part of the square burned up there when I was a young man. There was fire trucks from everywhere.
How long ago was that, David, when you were?
Well, let me see. I knew you.
Got an antique in studio with us, don't we?
1962.
Oh,
63. Right in there is when that fire was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't remember 50 because that's when I was born. I don't remember no fires in 1950, unless I was a fire.
Yeah.
Hey, with that, we ought to take a break, don't you think?
Yeah, we can run to one. You listen to Let's Talk Antiques on Thunder Radio, 107.9 FM, 1320 on the AM, and 106. I don't know if I said them all. 107.9, 106.7, and 1320 on the AM, and online at thunder1320.com. We'll be back with more in just a minute.
Hello, I'm Pick and Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy picking!
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
Back on 1320, 107.9 FM and 106.7 FM Thunder Radio, talking antiques this morning, talking fire trucks when we went to the last break, and it's fascinating. You were talking off the air about the mileage that was on that.
Yeah, it's only got like 5,000 miles.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, most fire trucks don't have a lot of miles.
They don't have a lot of miles on them, especially city fire trucks, because they don't travel
go too far.
So.
You're getting ready to surplus the fire truck, and this is off subject, but right off the top of your head, do you know how many miles is on the one you're getting ready to surplus?
No, sir, I'm sorry, I don't, but it's not a lot. So
it can't be.
Because it's.
But do you think about Granny? She's 90 years old and only has like 5,000 miles, but she has enough miles on it to wore the motor out.
Yes,
I guess when they got to the fire, they said did the engine have to run?
A lot of running and idling.
Yeah, it has to do the pumper part.
The pumping part of it, yes, sir.
Well, you got some more interesting stories about Granny? I know you got all kinds of them.
When I was first hired as a rookie, I was the one that's always signed the job to driver for the different functions and so forth. And the first time I was given that task, I was told to go fill it up with fuel. And I walked around the truck and I was looking for the gas cap and didn't see it, and I asked the fireman with me. I said, well, where do you put the fuel in? He said, oh, with the gas lot. And I said, yeah, but where do you put the fuel in? He said, at the gas lot. I said, no, in the truck, in the truck. And he said, it's under the seat. And the gas tank is actually, in those older vehicles there, the gas tank was actually mounted under, you had to take the bottom of the seat off, and there was the gas tank.
Ain't that something?
Wow. I didn't know that either. Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to find that either.
Well, and I'll tell you something. Also on her, she's got a original, not original to the truck, but original wooden ladder. I mean, it actually had a wooden ladder.
Yes, sir.
And it had a wicked-looking hatchet, or axe or whatever. Do you still have axes on fire trucks?
Yes, sir. We still have axes,
But
flathead and pick.
Yeah, okay.
But,
well, this one's got one. It's an old boy.
Lots of times there that we would again take it to all the different schools and give all the kids a ride. And there's probably a lot of children in town here that grew up riding in the back of Granny at the different functions.
Those children are my age now, Emmett, and your age.
Yes,
of course, you're a lot younger than me, but and Josh remembers Granny in the parade, old timers parade.
I used to in the old timers. Even now, there's some people bring their old fire trucks and they come through and they're kind of cool. I know Tullahoma brings one over, I think, every
36
year.
Dodge.
Yeah. So I mean, it's always kind of neat to see those old fire trucks come through, and sometimes those sirens will. Maybe if they're still operating and working, they blow your hair back.
They're working.
Yeah.
You just sit out there and turn the siren on every now and then, David, when you get bored. You
To tell you the truth, I hadn't started her. She hadn't been running. Golly, I put her in that building probably 17 or 18 years ago, and she stayed in another building prior to that. But she's always stayed in a building that was warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So she's been well taken care of.
And she will be when she gets back.
Hey, I tell you an interesting fact that we talked about before the show. You said that there's actually footage in 1951.
In the 51 film that was produced here, there is film of an actual fire and the truck in operation.
Ain't that
Wow.
So,
What was the film? What was the purpose of that?
it was a promotional film, I believe,
Of Manchester?
of Manchester, and that was correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a production crew that came through, and they, I believe, if you had a business and you wanted to be featured there, you could be featured in the film, and it covered
For a
a lot
low
of the
price.
businesses in Manchester.
Okay.
And I don't know. I know that I have seen copies of of it. I don't know where a man could get a copy now, if they've got them at the Historical Society or where a person could get a copy of them. But they were on VHF, and now they're on CD, so they're still out there.
That's pretty cool. Do you have one?
Yes, sir, I have one.
Which one's yours on?
Well, I actually have one on VHF and on CD. So
So how long is the
promotional film, it was about 30 minutes long, I
30,
believe.
that's-
Yeah.
What kind of
And it was Grady York, I believe, narrated. It was, of course, it was silent. It was black and white and had no voice. But when they converted it over onto VHF, I think they had Grady York do the narration.
That's great.
what kind of businesses were
Just
featured on that?
up around the square.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time in '51, the square was pretty well the
It was the business.
area.
Yeah.
And
So there's a little bit of everything.
I like to
right
watch
there.
that. That's pretty neat.
There's
Yes, yes.
stores and hardware stores and grocery
Yes,
stores, clothing stores. Well, the same thing you see. Well, let me see. If you went to Walmart, what I just named, they got it all. ain't they?
Funny how that's
But
worked out.
used to,
Movie
but
theaters.
used to there was actually movie theaters.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have one of them though, do they?
No, they don't have one of those
But
yet.
used to, there was always individually owned stores, and there's still some. I can think of a good hardware store here in town that's, can't you?
I could think of a couple.
Yeah, a real good one. Matter of fact, they do a show with you, don't they?
They do.
Eaton's Hardware.
Hardware, yeah.
Yes, sir. Well,
DM does
anyway,
good work.
you got any more stories to tell us? I mean, and you know what? Not only do you don't need to be the only one telling stories. People can call in and tell a story. Surely somebody's listening,
Yeah.
yeah,
seen the fire truck.
Yeah, or can remember the rides at the
Rode on the
schools
back,
and so
yeah.
forth, and or coming up the fire home visiting.
728-1320. If you want to get in on that, we'll put you on the air.
I remember being a kid and the fire truck coming to our schools and us getting the hats and things like that, but I never got to ride in one. So,
You didn't?
No, that'd been in the 70s. So by then they didn't let
Well,
kids.
And we didn't ride on them. We got to get in them and sit. And
How do you know
go
you
like this.
passed
I passed
out?
out. Well, we went back the next year.
They
I was
carried
like,
it.
I was excited about it the next year. I was like, I'm gonna get to do it today. All the kids remember too. They're like, "Oh, don't pass out today."
Rubbing it in on you.
Yeah. Think you can handle that walk all the way over there to the fire hall?
Hey, I'll tell you something interesting about her right now. I got 600 movie posters in the back of her, which there's plenty of room. You could you could have a little bench to ride a few kids. I don't know the liability of how that'd work for you, but I'm sure the city could manage that part and give the kids a ride. Couldn't you build a little bench back there, or not build one, just have it where you could set it in there and ride them just around the schoolhouse, kind of
Oh
slow?
yeah, and in those days you just pack as many could stand in the back and hold on.
Well, there you go. You could do the same.
Do that again. Let's see how that works.
Well, that worked now, Josh.
I'm not going to answer.
What about Philip?
I'm not going to say no, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take responsibility for it now.
Well, sometimes you got to step up.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, in between here, it looks like you've done a little research about Shelbyville.
Yeah, well, y'all were talking about
different fire.
different fire departments in the area, and I looked on Winchester and couldn't find anything on them, but Shelbyville has an entire history page of their firefighting abilities, which dates back to 1832. But it gets good. In 1894, they installed a water pump station that furnished water under pressure for 35 fire hydrants installed at strategic positions around the town. And from all accounts, as meager and crude as the firefighting equipment was during the time, it seems that did a very good job in fighting fires. 1894, that's pretty impressive to do that. And then the first motorized fire engine was used by Shelbyville Fire Department, purchased by the city of Shelbyville in 1914. And one man was hired by the city to drive and operate the fire engine, and all the others were volunteer firefighters. It seemed this man who was hired to drive and operate the fire engine stayed on duty 24 hours a day and lived at City Hall. And in 1926, a 750-gallon Mack pumper, which can be seen on display today at Fire Hall Number 1 in Shelbyville, was purchased, and another operator was hired. So they were
Well,
It's interesting how they used to do that. Just
good.
have one person that sat up there and drove, and everybody else had to show up,
Yeah.
volunteer.
you know, that almost sounds like a lighthouse keeper, don't it? Where
Right.
you have to live there
Live there.
24/7. But I bet you that Mack pumper, I bet it was chain driven. Those Mack trucks, a lot of those service trucks and stuff were chain driven. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, you're talking beyond my knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's before my time.
I know you got some more interesting facts, but Josh, how much time we got before we got to take that?
You got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
in 3 minutes, you're gonna pay your light bill, right?
Well,
In the late 1800s, they had their firefighting equipment consisted of one hand pump, 2 horse carts, and 1 ladder wagon, which was pulled by men or horses. Until 1894, the source of water supply used for fighting fires was drawn from cisterns, wells, and branches. 4 men would operate the hand pump at fires. The hand pump resembled a hand car used by section hands on railroads.
we could save a lot of money in the city if we went back to some of these old school technology.
There you go.
We could just pull stuff around by hand and we wouldn't have to worry about the
Yeah,
expensive
four
fire
men.
trucks.
Evidently, at
What do we think
one
about
time, City Hall must have had a stall for them horses, right?
Right?
Evidently.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that.
I would
far
say
back.
so.
I remember the old city hall there. That's now where the city park is there,
Yeah.
off of the square, where the small garden club has
Yeah.
their city park there. That
That
was
was
the city
fire
hall.
in.
That was
Yeah, it was fire department,
fire
police
department,
departments.
police and water department.
Pay your taxes, do everything.
Everything there in the small white building in that little section there. At that time, I believe they would have had the Granny and the 48 and then the 61 GMC, and they you could drive by and look and see them all backed in behind each other. I believe it was a single stall opening, and it was a pretty deep building.
At one time, City Hall was up there about where Buster Bush's insurance
Yes,
was,
sir,
wasn't it?
up on the square back during the 50s. And I have some old government survey maps I was looking at that was produced back in the 20s, and it showed the fire station, the fire hall, being where Coffee County Bank is now.
Really?
But I don't have any pictures.
Well,
It'd
and
be nice
wasn't-
to have some pictures of those.
You don't
those
have
different
any?
places. No, sir, I don't.
Well, I tell you an interesting fact. I think I'm right on this. Is where the Keep Coffee County Beautiful's got that little section you was talking about. Wasn't that originally a blacksmith shop?
That I'm not sure, David.
And right across the street at an angle, kind of in front of where Shirley's Auto Sales, going toward Manchester side, wasn't that right in there where they had the mule and horse auctions? Emmett, chime in here.
I can go back.
Don't you know much about your town?
But can't go back that far. Maybe one of our listeners could call in and fill
Yeah,
us in
let us
on-
know.
Yeah, and there was a theater right in there too.
Yeah, I remember the old theater on the square.
Yeah,
I
but
believe
there
it
was
a
one
lyric.
also over
Yeah,
there.
But,
There was another one.
Yeah.
Besides the lyric theater,
Oh,
is
yeah.
the one I've heard the stories
Yeah,
of.
well, we was fancy.
Yeah. Had all kind of stuff up there on the square,
I
didn't
tell
we?
you what, you got some more stuff you want to tell us about Chevyville? don't
No, Shelby. That's pretty much of it.
Does
It gets up to the normal or more modern
So
stuff. You know.
they still actually got their 26, but they don't have their 14, right, on the fire truck side.
They have their 26, but not their 14. Yeah, that
Well, they
would've
got
been-
one 3 years younger than
shame.
yours.
Yeah.
That's
All
a
right,
shame.
break
they don't have
time.
that. Well, yeah, we probably should take one. You're listening to Let's Talk Antiques on Thunder Radio. We'll be back with more in just a minute.
Hello, I'm Pickin' Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in, get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy picking!
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
I'd love to have you call in if you have anything you want to talk about on Let's Talk Antiques. 728-1320 is the number. Talking fire trucks when we went to our last break.
Well, we're going to talk fire trucks again
Talk
here.
it up.
All right, we got a little history here. I think we've talked once before about the first fire. The
We did.
firefighter company, starting in 1678 in Boston, and that just kind of there really wasn't much other than buckets, much really until that point, or beyond that. And in 1841, America's first self-propelled steam-powered fire engine was built in New York, but was soon destroyed by the firefighters who considered the vehicle dangerous and unreliable. In 1878, the fire escape ladder was patented. Let's see. In 1930, the firefighter ladders increased in size to the tallest one was 150 feet in 1930. In 1840s.
Philip,
Yeah.
150 feet.
That's pretty tall.
Really?
You-
Well, the Empire State Building was built around that time. I don't think
True.
they'd hardly get up there very
it
far.
would not get up to that far. Hopefully they had some pressure. How far can you shoot water in a hose?
Yeah.
Really
How far
depen-
can you
it-
get?
It depends on how much pressure you've got behind it and how big of a hose you're using and a nozzle. But
Smaller nozzle more.
yeah, but probably 150 feet.
What do you think back then? Those type of
I would guess 100 feet would be
That'd be a good one, wouldn't
a good distance for.
You ever stood in front of one?
the,
Has anybody here ever got knocked down by a fire hose before?
you-
No, I've not. I'm just curious.
Hey,
Because you see it on like TVs and movies, like somebody get knocked down by a fire hose. I wonder if that happens.
So he was talking earlier about hand pumpers where
Yeah.
they had the men got on each side.
Yeah.
And I can tell you a good where you can see one of those is Support Your Local Sheriff. That movie with James Garner. Anyway, they actually had a pumper there like that, a hand pump, and they pumped it up so they could stop that riot out in the middle of the street. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
You ever see that movie,
I've not.
Philip?
And no, actually I haven't.
Oh.
I've heard of it, but I've not heard it, seen it.
Well, is that all the interesting facts you got?
That's all I got on my list. I'm
Well,
sorry.
evidently
That's
you're
okay.
on the fire stuff
I was
now,
on the
right?
short list. I've been looking up some
See,
stuff on
that's-
eBay too.
Him, that's what he
so-
wants. He'd rather see what stuff's worth. I mean, he likes to do the history,
No,
but
I found the Shelbyville thing. So
you
that's,
did good.
Well, that's where it's at, though. Money. That's
Yeah.
where it's at. You got to find out what stuff's worth.
Yeah, bring home the bacon, right?
Yeah, you got to make that money.
All right, so
Okay, but wait a minute. We looked to see if Tullahoma had any history on their fire department. We couldn't find any.
I could not find a history page on that. So if Chief Chastain's listening, he can text me and tell me where it is if there's.
Well, they obviously need to get one up.
There
That's
you
what we
go.
need. That's the deal.
Well, and we need a little history on the fire truck, don't
Yeah.
There we go. We want to know about it.
Somebody give Winston or somebody a call over there and
There you go.
update the websites and tell
we?
them.
Winston, get on the ball. Wouldn't
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
he? Okay, so what did you look up first?
I've got. Well, we talked about sirens there, blaring coming down through for the Christmas parades is where it
Are you
Bring
talking-
your
comes
earmuffs.
to me.
Are you talking about the ones that hurt Josh's ears?
Yeah, there
after
you
he
go.
I didn't say
passed
that hurt
out.
my- no, I didn't pass out.
That might have been
from
what
the
happened.
sirens.
Well, I tell you, my video cameras don't particularly care for them when
They don't
come
like
by.
that sound. No,
They don't.
No, it's a little loud for those sounds. It's loud for. It is loud for the babies. And
Yeah.
You got to bring the earmuffs. For
Oh yeah.
them.
So I searched on eBay for those, and I've got a vintage Sterling Big Chief fire truck siren, 6 volt. Looks pretty standard.
Well, that'd be grainy. 6
yeah,
volt.
there you go. And they were asking $1,350, and they got over $1,200 just for the siren. You might want to part out Granny. Dave. Do you think about that?
Listen, I could have sold Granny a dozen times, but every time somebody asked me about her, I'd always say, I could sell you, Granny, but I'd have to leave town. There is no way. That piece of history is always going to stay with Manchester.
Okay.
But you're right. You could part her out, and it would bring a lot of money.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the fenders, the hood?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
so-
when you get into the brass stuff and the pumps, I showed you a pump a while ago. It was about $1,200,
Yes, sir.
didn't it?
Wow. All right. Second on the list of sirens, you have a vintage B&M Super Chief fire truck siren, and they asked $1,200, and they got it on their buy it now. Here's a chrome rotary siren, vintage horn that you can be used on your fire truck or your hot rod. They say
Siren on a hot rod.
$1,030 was to buy it now on that.
Do people put sirens on hot rods?
Well, that would sure make somebody jump instead of a horn. wouldn't it?
I
You think they'd get out of the way, Josh, if they pulled up behind it and
I
turned
know.
that siren on?
Maybe
that's
you use
illegal.
it for the parades.
I don't know what it's for.
Hopefully you just use it for the parades. Here's a vintage Federal Signal Q2B fire truck siren, mounted, tested, and working. $807.50 was to buy it now on that one.
Now, Emmett,
Why don't you just go ahead and buy us one? We need one.
One of those new is about $2,500.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
to buy a new Federal
so
Q.
you
Yes,
don't
sir.
have a lot of old fire stuff, do you?
No, sir, I don't.
But you do have a few pieces, right?
I do have a few.
Anything particular that we might look yours up after he gets through with all these high
See
dollars?
what you got.
No, just odds and ends that I've collected. I do have a Federal Q, a couple of the old sirens. I've collected a few of those over the
A
years.
couple $1,000 sitting in there.
Yeah, I'm telling
Yeah.
your wife, and I
Yeah.
bet you they'll be gone.
Yeah.
Do you just like run 2 leads over to a car battery and?
Well, you,
If
Had
when I was in the JCs, if anybody can remember back at the old Duncan booth, I mounted the siren, one of my old Federal Qs up there on the pole, and every time somebody got dunked, I'd turn the siren on, had a 12-volt battery there. And
That's how you liven up
so
a Dunkin'
wherever
booth
you
right
was
there.
on the fairgrounds, you knew somebody just got dunked at the Dunkin' machine. So
We need to bring that back. That sounds pretty cool right there.
yeah.
kept the Dunkin' machine in everybody's mind. So
There you go.
Hey, I got an idea. Next Old Timers thing, Old Timers Day. What about that, Josh? Get
what?
the Dunkin' machine and have the siren.
Yeah. I'm not getting in it, but
we get some politicians. That's who you
it'll
get
be,
into.
we'll be heading into a political
Well, I was
year.
thinking some TV personalities,
No, I think politicians. More.
especially like one. I'm thinking of one right now.
Politicians will be better. People will spend some money to dunk some politicians,
There you go. Yeah.
especially local ones. You just get some local politicians,
you
put them up there, and announce it to the public.
There you go.
Thousands of dollars for your charity of choice.
There you
Yes, there you go.
go. Here's a pretty good one. Here's a antique fire truck hand crank siren. Works great.
You got one of them, Emmett?
no, sir, not
This
a
is-
hand crank one there.
Possibly Sterling brand, they say. They were asking $875, and they got over $750 for it though. So.
So, Emmett, is Sterling? It must be a really old company.
It is, and it's not around today. I don't know when they ceased business, but they did produce a lot of the older items.
There's a whole bunch of Federals on here that look like the same version to me.
And it hasn't changed very much over the years.
You
It's-
think
it's still
Federal might have
basic.
bought Sterling out?
May
That
have.
happened a lot with oil companies.
May have.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
them, $600-700 for lots and lots of those.
If you recall, if you see any pictures of old emergency vehicles, the sirens were mounted on the roof of those, and they're no longer allowed to do that. Any produced vehicles today, emergency vehicles, any air horns or sirens have to be mounted out in front of the grill for hearing loss
Oh,
problems.
is that
Yeah.
was the problem?
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go, Josh. We can't. It had to be mounted in the grill.
Can't do it.
If
Can't
you
put it
know-
on the roof.
Well, we can. Yeah,
We can still put it in the grill. couldn't
yeah, we could. We could make it happen.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my Buick out there.
There you go.
No,
Buick.
Yeah. Like that.
Okay, all right. That's most of.
Well, wait a
I'd say
minute.
high dollar, but
What about
there's
them lights? You got some. Looks like lights there.
no. These are all still sirens.
Oh, are they?
There's a whole bunch of these red ones here that are. They don't tell 'em- they don't say what brand they are. They look really cool. They look like the old, what I would call a bullet microphone kind of thing.
Oh,
is
yeah.
what they look like to me, and they're bringing, $250 each.
Yeah,
So.
I figured
The,
they would bring more than that.
The electric siren that replaced the old wind-up sirens there really didn't come into service until the late 60s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was pretty well wind up to that point before electronics took over.
Okay.
I don't think Granny's got a hand crank one. I think y'all must have modernized her.
It's electric.
Is it?
It's
Y'all modernized her, huh?
Yes, sir.
So, I got to jump over here for a second for David's favorite subject is toys.
Hey, I bought a fire truck this weekend.
Really?
Yeah, it was a 1950s model. It's what the company is.
Yeah.
It really is Stopeek model is what it's called, and it's a super looking. It's about 3 foot long.
Oh, okay.
It's cool.
All right.
It's on my Facebook, by the way, if you want to see it.
I'll check it out later. I've got, so the top priced thing that's sold recently on eBay, and that would be a Ghostbusters 1991 Kenner prototype fire truck toy that was never released. So it's a I guess just a little plastic fire truck with a hand on the back to grab stuff with. And they were asking 10 grand, and they got over 5 grand for that unreleased toy, plastic toy.
So much for a prototype, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So it tells me if you got something that's unusual, call it a prototype.
There you go. That would help. Yeah. I'll say, well, if this is unreleased, then yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I could make a prototype too, and say it just never was released. There you go. Then we got a vintage American National AC Mac. It's a chemical fire truck. It says for the style. It's metal, and they were asking 4,000.
That's a pedal car there. It looks like.
No, that's on a rail on a side thing. I'd say it's about 2 foot long.
All right. Okay.
They got somewhere around $4,000 for that one.
Ooh.
So, and then it jumps subjects on me. Actually, I've got a 1968 GMC pumper fire truck. If you want to buy one, that brought somewhere around $3,500. Mm-hmm. Can you buy a 1968 fire truck for $3,500?
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
sir.
not really
Yeah,
expensive.
they're not expensive, no, sir.
I'll get my credit card. Let's just
All right.
let's just
What is that
order
number?
it up.
What is that number, Josh?
I look good sitting out front out here, in
Yes,
front of
it
the
would.
studio.
Hey, speaking of that, going into Tullahoma, what is that insurance company?
Yeah,
Rather,
it's Farm Bureau or something on the right there.
No, State Farm.
State Farm, that's it. Okay.
remember he had a fire truck there.
Is it not there anymore?
No, he sold it.
Oh, I
But
used to
it's
see
a-
it over there all the time. When I
Yeah, and he actually drove that thing around.
I think it showed up at some parades or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is where I remember seeing it out. But
But you know what? Those fire trucks gets attention.
can you drive a fire truck around?
I guess you can.
Why
Why
couldn't
can't
If you buy one,
Just don't
you
run
can-
the
you
just
can
don't
drive
run the
one?
Hey,
license.
I tell you
As
what.
long as it's licensed and
We're
tagged
going
there.
to give you that answer right after this break.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Pick and Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in, get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy picking!
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
728-1320. We have a call we'll get to in just a minute, but I don't know if David had something he wanted
Yeah,
to.
Ronnie gave up his seat today so you could have it, Emmett. When
I was
nice?
gonna
Thank you
ask
very much.
Is he
where
listening?
was off to.
Yes, he is.
No, I'm sure.
And I'll tell you how I know he's listening because he sent me a text said Benjamin Franklin set up the first fire insurance company based on the English model.
Nice.
So he's listening.
Listening and always working, apparently.
Evidently, he don't give it up.
I've got somebody on line one who's got an antiques question not related to the fire trucks, though. Welcome in. You're on Let's Talk Antiques.
Yes, I wondered what you could tell me about the old mill that was on Main Street.
Well, are you
I
talking
think
about the
it
one
was-
they tore down?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got the expert sitting right here. Go ahead and tell them, Emmett, about the old mill, because you used to live right behind it, didn't you?
Yeah, I was raised behind it. As far as I know, the mill was built back in the 1800s, late 1800s. The original building was the same building that was there. That was operated by steam power. I have an old article from the Manchester Times that was published in the 20s and had an article about it. and and it shows the big steam powered generator beside the building that ran the mill. Of course, that was before Highway 41 passed it. The old road went through the square and out past it, and they built one viaduct. It was a one-lane road, or one bridge, and then when they widened it to two bridges there, they moved the second bridge over right up against the mill, and by then I guess they'd gone to electricity, and the steam power was gone. But the mill, I can remember as a child early in the morning, hear them crank the thing up and run all the milling process. It was very, very loud.
Well, do you remember it being anything besides Ruby? I mean, it wasn't always
sir.
Ruby Mill.
That's all I remember it being was Ruby Mills. I moved over.
Do you know what year it was torn down?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah,
This year.
recent, yeah.
Yes, just this year.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's not the one I'm talking about.
Oh.
I'm talking about if you were on Main Street and you went across the railroad track and you kept on going straight, there was a mill down there on the right at the end.
Feed mill. The old.
Yeah. What was the name of that?
I'm trying to remember.
I think it was owned by Cecil Warren.
You know what? I think I do remember something about a
Yeah,
mill.
it was a. I remember it being a feed mill when I was a child. It's been torn down years.
How long do you think it's been torn down? You mean?
I'd say 30 or more years.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember that other mill. But the only one everybody really remembers is the one that Emmett just talked
Yeah,
about.
I know.
Yeah,
Don.
I know about that one, and it has just recently been torn down. But I was thinking of the one at the very end of Main Street.
Yeah.
I know that Don Northcutt did a drawing of that mill.
Yeah.
Of
Yes,
the
he
feed
did.
mill.
Great.
But
Thanks.
I was interested in knowing when it was torn down, if anybody knew.
Emmett says about 30 years ago.
Maybe make that a homework assignment for David. He might
Yeah,
tell you
we'll
next week.
Well, we'll make it for Emmett because Emmett's a good researcher.
Maybe we can get you an answer on that next week
Yeah.
if we don't forget between now and then. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, Emmett, isn't there another mill right there by your mom's house or something? Wasn't there
It was a cotton gin.
Oh, cotton gin.
It
Okay.
was a cotton gin, and I'm not sure who had it when I lived there. The Bickles owned it all, and they
Was it in operation?
No, sir. They rebuilt motors. They rebuilt large electrical motors. He had a place over on.
Is he the one that moved out on the Woodbury Highway?
on the Woodbury Highway?
Where that Tri-County Roofing
Yeah,
building
where the
was?
Tri-County Roofing is. But they rebuilt motors there for many, many years, and they used the old cotton gin just for storage.
I'll be dog. Well, I'll tell you something about that Woodbury Highway location. I actually ended up with a gravity flow gas pump, I think, that came from there.
I don't have a phone screener in the house, so I'm about to dangerously answer a phone call
Okay.
without screening it first. I don't know. They may be looking for Swap and Shop. They may be looking for Let's Talk
Hey,
Antiques.
if they're looking for Swamp Shop, take the item.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and take it. We might go ahead and sell it. Welcome into Let's Talk Antiques. No, they hung up. Maybe that's
Well,
not
there's
what they
somebody
want.
else ringing.
Yeah. Well, it started to ring a lot, and it makes me believe that they might think it's Swap and Shop. I don't know, but we got somebody on line one. Welcome in. You're on Let's Talk Antiques.
Yes, I can barely hear you, but that was Clark Bickle that had that engine machine shop.
Yep, that's right. Clark Bickle. You're exactly right.
His son Aubrey took it over after he did.
Yeah. How do you know what year that his son finally quit doing the?
Oh, I'm going to say it would be somewhere in the late 70s
Oh, okay. All right.
because he moved away and did some business in another state, the same kind.
I'll be dog. I'll tell you what, at one time that was a big business too, wasn't it?
Sure was.
People
Sure
actually did rebuild stuff. They need to go back to that.
All righty.
Thanks for calling
Thank
in.
you.
Yeah.
There's another call. See, we get a call or two, Josh.
We do get some calls every now and then. We got somebody on line two. You're on Let's Talk Antiques. Hello. No, they didn't want to talk to us.
Oh, okay.
What'd you do to him?
I don't know. They didn't like the way I answered the phone. Hey, we got a couple minutes left, so I'll wrap whatever y'all want to hit on the last couple minutes.
Well, we got some stuff.
Good.
All right.
We always got stuff, Josh.
So I looked up some fire extinguishers here. We got a vintage Mack fire truck extinguisher. It says a foam type with insert.
What's that, Emmett?
That was a chemical extinguisher there. It had water in the bottom, and it have a small container of some type of a product that would create pressure when it was became wet. Those were the type that you had to turn upside down to
Oh.
use. And when the mixture hit the chemical, it would create pressure and force the water out.
I'll be done.
$1,050. Oh,
You got one of them, Emmett?
No, sir, I don't have one quite like that. I have several of the ABC type, modern extinguishers, but nothing like that. One thing that our viewers need to be aware, if they have some of these older fire extinguishers, to be very, very careful with them, because a lot of the products that are in them are dangerous.
Will they explode?
They won't explode, but they're usually a toxic.
Oh, okay.
And they're
Don't just go
designed-
spraying them for
A
fun,
lot of
eh?
them are designed to exclude oxygen.
Oh.
And you just want to be very, very careful with them because of the product that's inside of them.
oh,
A lot of those things have been outlawed today for use.
absolutely. A lot of these are copper and brass, aren't they, too?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So these are.
What about that Ford one? I mean, I know you're ignoring that Ford. Do you have something against Fords?
I've owned several. Ford vintage brass fire extinguisher with holder, original antique, very nice. They were asking $398 and got over $350. So,
See?
tell me this. So this is what vintage Sure Stop glass fire extinguisher grenades.
All right. Tell them about them, Emmett.
Okay, those are some that I was speaking about that has the material that's in them there is designed to exclude oxygen.
They'll suck the oxygen
And
out.
what you did, it was a glass ball with a product inside, and you threw it at the base of the fire, and of course it broke and the product came out. But again, a lot of those materials are now outlawed because of the danger of the chemical that's
You know,
inside.
Frank on American Pickers, he buys them all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
he probably doesn't play with them because he's
No,
still
no,
around, though.
But he's a big collector. That's what he used to do originally. Before he became famous as American Picker, he used to sell fire equipment.
Oh, I thought she
Okay,
was going
I
to say he
didn't
was a
realize
fireman.
that.
Well, he might have been. I don't know about that part.
Could be.
Could have been a volunteer.
Here's a really nice vintage 1-quart brass Ford fire extinguisher. It's a hand pump kind of.
You ever seen one of them, Emmett?
No, sir. No, I've seen that.
It's
the
a Ford
style,
also,
but I've
so
never
it's
seen
just to point out.
the name Ford. I don't know if they were supplied and you could buy them for your Ford vehicle, or if Ford was in the business of.
Well, Ford built airplanes, so I guess Ford done a lot of different
A
things.
little bit of everything over at the
Yeah.
Ford place. Huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right.
I don't think that wraps it up.
You
folks.
Hey,
winding
yeah.
us down.
So if you couldn't afford a car, what you're telling me is you could buy a fire
Get a
extinguisher.
fire truck and
Fire
maybe
truck.
buzz around in that for a little while. I'm following the Dave Ramsey plan. I need to get a cheaper car, so
Yeah, well.
we'll get one of those. and buzz
Evidently, there's low mileage, and Best Buy would be an old fire truck, wouldn't it?
Yes, sir.
around. You've been listening to Let's Talk Antiques on
Thank you.
Thunder Radio.
Thank you, Emmett.
Thank you.